Someone once said something that still echoes in my mind. In the test of life, you don't get numbers or trophies, you get places in people's hearts. And as I sit here reflecting on my life, I realize how true those words are. I was a king, ruling a vast empire, commanding a mighty army, and possessing unimaginable wealth. There was nothing I lacked, except for time. Time, that silent thief, had crept up on me. And now, sickness clung to my body like an unwelcome guest that wouldn't leave. The royal doctor's words haunted me. "Your days are numbered, my king." Those words struck like a dagger, deeper than any blade ever could. I tried to mask my fear with pride, but deep down, I knew what I had to do. The doctor urged me to leave everything, my throne, my power, my riches, and retreat to the forests, to live out my remaining days in solitude and meditation. "It's time to care for your soul," he had said. But I was troubled, not because I feared the loneliness of the jungle, but because I longed for someone who would not abandon me in my final journey. In my heart, I believed one of my queens would walk with me through the darkness that awaited. I had 4 queens, each holding a special place in my life, or so I thought. My first hope was my youngest, my beloved 4th queen. She was the one I had showered with love, with affection, with endless gifts and luxuries. Surely she would stand beside me now, right? Full of hope, I approached her chamber, my heart pounding as I asked, "Will you come with me? Will you leave all of this behind and stay by my side?" But her answer cut deeper than any sword. She turned to me, her eyes cold as ice, her voice sharp. "What madness is this? You may go where you wish, but I will remain here. This palace is my home." My heart sank. After all I had given her, my love, my time, she wouldn't even think twice. Without another word, she turned away from me, leaving me standing there, feeling emptier than ever. With a heavy heart and crushed hopes, I left her chambers, still holding on to a faint glimmer of hope that anyone, would choose me. Still reeling from her rejection, I made my way to my 3rd queen. She was known for her beauty, her grace, adored by all, especially me. I had always been proud to have her by my side, always admired how she carried herself with elegance. If anyone would join me in my final days, surely it would be her. I looked into her eyes and said softly, "I have always loved you deeply. Will you come with me, leave this kingdom, and stay with me until the end?" I waited, my heart pounding in my chest, clinging to fragile hope. She laughed, as though I had told a joke. "Are you out of your mind?" she scoffed, shaking her head. "Why would I throw away everything to follow you into the forest? Once you're gone, I'll find someone else. I will live my life happily." Her words stung like venom, each syllable a cruel reminder of how alone I truly was. I felt betrayed, abandoned by someone I had cherished so deeply. I turned away, my soul growing heavier, as though the weight of the entire palace was pressing down on my chest. Desperation filled me as I made my way to my 2nd queen, the one I had always trusted for counsel, the one who had stood beside me through political storms, guiding me with her wisdom. If anyone would understand, it would be her. "My queen," I said, my voice trembling, "I'm leaving everything to seek peace in the forests. Will you stand by me in this final journey?" I searched her face, yearning for even a spark of hope, some sign that I would not be walking this dark path alone. My soul was desperate for her answer. She sighed, a long, heavy sigh, as if carrying a burden of her own. "My king," she said gently, "I have always loved you. I've stood by you in every storm. But I cannot follow you this time. When the end comes, I will ensure that you are honored, that your funeral is grand, but I cannot go with you." Her words were kind, but they cut deeper than I could have imagined. Even she, my trusted companion, would stay behind. All she could offer me was a farewell. And in that moment, a crushing loneliness set in. I turned away, feeling the walls of the palace close in on me. Everyone I had loved, trusted, and given my life to. None would walk with me. None would be there when the world faded into darkness. Just as I was about to surrender to despair, a soft, frail voice called out from behind me. "I will come with you, my king." I turned, and there she stood, my 1st queen, the one I had married long ago, long before wealth and power consumed my life. She stood there, simple, worn, yet radiant in a way I had forgotten. She had no jewels, no fine silks, just a quiet dignity that took my breath away. I stared at her, stunned. "You? You would come with me? I whispered, my voice shaking with disbelief. She smiled, a gentle smile that seemed to pierce through the fog of my sorrow. Yes, my king, I will go with you. Wherever you go, I will stay by your side until the very end. Tears filled my eyes. How could I have ignored her for so long? The queen I had neglected, forgotten. Yet she was the only one willing to walk beside me. In that moment, as realization dawned on me, I felt both ashamed and humbled. The one I had pushed aside, given the least of my time, was the only one who had remained true. And so with her by my side, I left my palace, my kingdom, my riches, everything I had spent my life building. Together we stepped into the unknown, into the quiet darkness of the forest. And as we walked, I couldn't help but wonder, what was it all for? The power, the wealth, the battles fought, what did any of it mean if, in the end, I stood alone? As we walked deeper into the forest, away from the grand halls and glittering walls of my palace, an unsettling silence settled over me. The trees whispered to one another in the wind, and for the first time in my life, I felt exposed, vulnerable, without my throne or crown. I realized then how much I had relied on the illusion of control. Everything I thought mattered, my wealth, my power, was gone. And yet this queen beside me, whom I had neglected for years, held my hand gently, offering more comfort than all my riches ever could. Her presence began to awaken something inside me. Each step into the wilderness felt like walking away from my former self. The forest was dark and vast, the shadows swallowing the light, as though testing my resolve. Every branch that snapped underfoot felt like a reminder of everything I had broken or ignored in life. Relationships, promises, my own soul. I wondered if the other queens missed me at all, or if they were already celebrating my absence. But then I glanced at the first queen beside me. Steadfast, quiet, loyal, and I knew she was my only true companion, though I had failed to see it for so long. As the days passed, I started to reflect on what each queen truly represented. The fourth queen, my youngest and most adored, was like my body, something I had spent a lifetime pampering, dressing, and showing off. I had given it every luxury, cared for its every whim, but when the time came, even my body would refuse to go with me. No matter how much we treasure our bodies, they betray us in the end, leaving us to face our final journey alone, and realizing that truth in the forest, far from comfort, was the most terrifying lesson of all. The third queen, with all her beauty and pride, was no different from my vast wealth, my golden throne, my priceless jewels, my endless armies. She was the symbol of everything I had owned, my possessions that gave me status and power. But as she said she would marry again, so too would my riches pass into someone else's hands. No matter how tightly we cling to our possessions, they are never truly ours. And in death, they remain behind, untouched. While we walk forward empty-handed, all that remains of a man is his soul, if he ever cared to nurture it. My second queen, the one who had given me wisdom and stood by me in hard times, was like my family and friends. They offer love, loyalty, and strength during life's battles, but when the final moment arrives, they too must stop at the door. They can walk with us to our grave, but they cannot cross that final threshold. And though they may weep and mourn, they cannot follow us beyond. The comfort I had once drawn from them was fleeting, temporary support for a journey I must ultimately take alone. That truth gnawed at me in the silence of the forest. And then there was my first queen, my soul, the only one willing to go with me. It broke my heart to realize how I had pushed her aside for years. She had waited patiently as I chased wealth, beauty, and power, as I adored my body and surrounded myself with luxury. But she never left me, and now when all others turned away, she was here. How foolish I had been to ignore her whispers, her quiet cries for attention. And as I sat beneath the trees, I vowed to listen to her from now on. She was all I had left. As the sun rose and fell over the forest canopy, I began to speak to her, my soul, as though she were a person, and she would answer me in feelings and thoughts I had long buried. I asked her if she had been lonely, watching me waste my life on shallow things. I asked her if she had ever given up on me, and though she said nothing aloud, I could feel the answer in my chest. She had always been waiting for me to stop running, waiting for me to return home to myself, to see what truly mattered. The nights in the forest were cold and full of strange sounds, Wolves howling, leaves rustling as though spirits moved among them. I would wake in terror sometimes, shivering, but every time I thought I was alone, I would see her sitting quietly beside me, her hand resting gently on mine. And in those moments, I realized that the soul is the only part of us that will never abandon us. Not in life, not in death. It walks with us when no one else will. It knows our fears, our dreams, our regrets, and still it stays, loyal, constant. I began to meditate, to sit still and listen, not to the voices of my advisors or the noise of the court, but to the quiet voice inside me. And as I listened, I saw my life in flashes, every mistake, every hurt I caused, every opportunity to love that I let pass by. It was painful to see, but I knew I had to face it. The soul does not lie. She holds a mirror to you and shows you what you tried to hide. But in that honesty, there is also forgiveness, if you are brave enough to accept it. Now, as I sit here telling you this story, I realize that life was never about the throne or the gold. It was about learning to care for the only part of me that would last beyond death, my soul. And I wonder, how many of you are running after your fourth, third, and second queens? How many of you are ignoring the quiet first queen, who waits patiently for you to remember her? Don't wait until the end to realize what truly matters. Because when all else fades, when your body, wealth, and friends are gone, only your soul will remain.